Hey, what's up, everyone? How's everyone doing tonight? What's my story today? Oh, and by the way, sorry about the lighting. It's a little dark here. I'm just doing a little night walk after my jog. But I didn't know what I was going to do for the video tonight. I was thinking, what happened today? Is there anything significant that I can talk about on the video? And I realized when you're making content, that's your biggest fear is that you're going to run out of things to say, you're going to run out of ideas. But sometimes things just present themselves to you, and not every video has to be a blockbuster or something crazy. But when I was on my run, I actually got an idea for what I was going to talk about tonight. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. So let me ask you guys a question here. Have you ever smelled something in the air that immediately brought you back to a certain point in your life and reminded you of something? It's amazing what smells can actually trigger in your mind. So what I'm going to tell you is I was running and I smelled barbecued steak, but with barbecue sauce on it. And I never put barbecue sauce on my steak because I like my steak just salty and flavorful in that way. I don't like sugary stuff on my steak. But the crazy thing is, my dad used to do that. And I don't know if you've seen my first video. Maybe you have. I hope you have. But in my first video, I tell you that my dad passed away when I was back in 1993, when I was 13 years old. So a long time ago. And so we're going back even further. So maybe when I was like 6, 7 years old, he used to make these steaks for us on the barbecue, and he used to put barbecue sauce on them. And when I smelled that steak earlier with the barbecue sauce on it, a flood, a flood of memories came back to me about that time when I was young and my dad was still with us, and what a wonderful time that was. And not to, think of it in a sad way, but what I want to think about it as a grateful thing that I got to experience that with him, and I just loved having him with us. Like, he was the greatest dad in the world. But that smell, that steak, I could even taste it when I was running. Think about this: I'm running, and I'm tasting steak in my mouth, running by somebody's house who's cooking. It's wild, but yeah, it brought me back to that time, and I can't express how important, like how potent smells can be, and how they bring us back to a certain point in time, and they can trigger memories. I'll tell you another story about how smells trigger certain events in your life. Hold on one sec. I'm back. So that story I was going to tell you about is from a gentleman named Marcel Proust. And Marcel Proust was a French novelist, and in his writings, one of the famous things that he says is he ate this cake that was dipped in tea, and the moment he ate it, it brought back these vivid memories of his aunt and the village that she lived in, the smells and the tastes of that cake that she used to make. And it all just came flooding back to him. And so that is where we get the term the Proust effect. And so the Proust effect essentially describes not only how smells, but how tastes and foods can trigger your memory and bring you back to a moment in time from your past. And it doesn't really have any limit. It can go back very far. In my case, it went back, almost 32 years. So yeah. Another example I want to tell you about actually is, not sure if you ever saw the movie Ratatouille. That's that animated movie where there's a French cook and he has no idea what he's doing. And then the rat there's a rat that lives in the kitchen, and it basically lives in his hat and is pulling his hair and directing him how to cook. So in that movie, there is a antagonist who is the food critic, and he's this really mean guy and very strict, very sort of pompous. And at the end of the movie, he's supposed to taste the food at this restaurant and essentially give it a rating. And he tells the cook to make ratatouille, which is kind of like a peasant dish that's not something that the restaurant is really known for making. But anyway, so to make a long story short, the rat makes the food through the hands of the cook and they serve it to him. And the moment he smells it and then he takes a bite out of it, the camera just shoots into like a big close up on his face like that. And then his whole demeanor changes. And then you see a flashback sequence of when he was a kid eating his mom's cooking, and because it's like a very home cooked meal from the rural areas of France, according to the story. And it just completely changes the guy. He's no longer mean, and it just blows his mind, essentially taking him back to a time, a happy time in his life where, he forgot about all that joy. And so that, to tie that in with what happened today, it just, that smell of that steak with the barbecue sauce, it just brought me right back to that happy time when my father was still with us. And yes, it made me miss him again, but it also brought a smile to my face and just very pleasant memories of the barbecues we used to have as a family, and we used to sit outside on the deck and eat. So I thought that was really nice. Question for you guys. Does any smell or taste of any food do that for you? Does it bring you back to a certain time in your life that it may not even be a pleasant time. It could be a really happy time. It could be an unpleasant time, but just things like that that trigger you. I'd love to hear from you and hear your story on that. So please share in the comments or DMs or text messages or any sort of form you can get a hold of me. I'd love to hear about it. All right. So that's it for now, guys. Have a great night. Love y'all and see you in the next chapter. Bye-bye.